The next pad in the series of pads that I'll be reviewing here that I own is probably, well, it's my favorite design on a pad because I put it on myself, and it's the one pad I don't recommend to people almost ever, and it's also a really popular thing, and that is the 12-inch Xymox pad, ID pad. This is a pad I've had for quite a long time. It's really thick, really heavy, and I don't recommend it for a lot of reasons, even though you can put your own fancy artwork on it, like a samurai attacking a wave. It's pretty cool. One thing to note, if you do end up getting a Xymox pad, get the snare beads in it, because this back low profile side that you think is a little quieter, because it says it's a little quieter, is quieter if you play at 3 inches and even 6 inches, but as soon as you go to 9 or 12, it'll just play right through, and it'll be almost like if you were playing on the other side. So if you're playing at like 3 inches and you really need to be quieter, even if you play with some velocity and do some accents, it'll play right through. It doesn't matter. You get a little bit more of this surface anyway, but just get the snare beads if you do end up getting a Xymox ID pad, which I don't recommend. But it's touted as basically the end-all, be-all, best pad you can get. If you get the ID pad, which I got on sale for 50% off one Memorial Day for like $60. They were doing $60 for ID pads, I think $50 for regulars, and then they were doing like $120 for tenor pads. $60 for this pad is fine. I wouldn't recommend it as a go-to pad, but it's still a fine price for it. $120, do not do it. It's really not worth it. It's a toy. It's a flashy toy. It's, you know, when people get it, it's because it's like, oh, I have a Xymox pad. It really doesn't help with anything. It's articulate, sure, and it's snappy, but it's really loud, so it doesn't make it really good for any quiet environment that you need it to be. And it also has this glassy surface, which a lot of articulate pads have, that I really don't like. And because it feels like your sticks will glide on it. It doesn't really grip it like a snare would. Like a marching snare, you'd think would, but it's rigid. It has this grid-like structure, usually made out of carbon fiber or other materials, and it will catch your stick to a degree. This does not do that. This has a glossy surface where your sticks will start to glide across and not, be caught as much. I also think it sounds really weird. That's why with the snare beads, it like kind of sounds like a snare. So if you're a Ralph Nader or whatnot, you probably do have this pad already, and you're probably not watching this video, and you're just doing it to confirm your own thing. This also has one of the things I hate about modern snare practice pads, and that is metal rims. I'm not even going to play it because I like these sticks, and I really value these sticks because they're my favorite practice sticks. The thing I hate about especially high-profile metal rims, not as much as I do on the Invader by Off-World Percussion, because theirs is thinner, so it's a lot more of like a razor edge, which I don't like because it'll cut in more, is that eventually, while you hit, rim shots and gawk shots and all that, you will eat into the stick. There actually is some bumps and grooves on these sticks, and I've never hit a marching snare with them. It's literally just from these metal rims on some of these practice pads. This one in particular. So between breaking performance sticks when you're actually playing on the marching snare and breaking practice sticks because you got a metal rim, the money starts to rack up fast. $120 for the pad, $10 for replacement practice sticks every now and again, every 2 months, because you're literally breaking your sticks while you're practicing. Over the course of a year, which, by the way, is about as long as it takes for these things to ship. They take an enormous amount of time to ship as well, which most people complain about. Memorial Day, I think, was like in March, and I didn't get this. Yeah, I shipped it out from March the one year I got it, and then it didn't come until October. The benefit is you forget about it, and it does feel like, oh, happy birthday to me, even though you paid for it. But the fact that it takes like 6 to 8 months to ship on average is pretty atrocious, and that's if they're doing fine stock wise. With Corona, I don't even know what Xymox is up to right now, but they're kind of the best in the biz, and they're the most flashy in the biz. But I don't know, most seasoned players will probably tell you that this is too much for what you need. I mean, I think they capitalize on the fact that the marching audience is like predominantly, high schoolers. So they'll want like something like flashy like this and all this, and you can put your own graphic on it. You can stylize what color you want the rim to be, what color you want the base to be. You can put snare beads in it and be like, oh, it's like a marching snare. But in actuality, unless you're doing like YouTube videos, you're really never going to use this because it's too loud to justify within most practice environments. And trust me, the other side does, like, if you play with any amount of velocity, it'll strike through and it'll be very high pitched and people will hear it throughout the house. It will not make a difference. So do yourself a favor, save the money, do not buy this pad, get an off-world, and get the Outlander. The Outlander is $35. So you can buy, if you need to do a tenor pad. Now, tenor pad for $120. If this was on sale for $120, and you could get the Xymox tenor pad. Now, I'm not a tenor player, so I wouldn't know, but I think that's a pretty good deal from what I've seen tenor pads to be. Because tenor pads can go from anywhere to like, their minimum usually like $100, they're like $120, $140. To go anything less than that, they're not really tenor pads as much as it's just a bunch of gum rubber. Like with the thick Firth pad, I think is less, but it still might be $120. You could buy feasibly like 3 or 4 of these Outlander pads before you ever were able to afford this pad at retail price. And if you're telling yourself, oh well, I want the articulate surface and the glass coat and all that stuff, Off-World makes laminates for this pad. They come in a bunch of different styles. They'll say carbon fiber, blue chameleon, red polka dot, whatever. And they will have that glassy, articulate, marching surface that is exactly the same as what everyone else is using. All of that glassy, articulate surface is all the same. Except if you do an insert. If you glue it on, it's exactly the same. They quite literally, if you were to take this apart, do a gum rubber bottom with this laminate just glued on. It's the only difference. And the only thing holding it down is the rim and the glue. So that's the Xymox pad. I don't recommend it, but most people love it. That's just my take on it.